kind of soft, chewy texture, which is funny because upon eating it, delicious. Does it remind me of those chewy bars, but healthier? Yes. And Merry mate and welcome to Plant-Based Laughter. So today we're going to be taking on Phoebe's post-run recovery bars. For the most part, this is pretty much already vegan, which is really great. So it requires a lot of staples that most people who live a plant-based diet or trying to incorporate that more into their life have a lot of these items already. And so one of those being the dates, almond butter, coconut oil, vanilla pea protein, and then typically there's always some kind of like dried fruit, quinoa, and oats. And the only non-vegan item really in here are the chocolate chips. So we're just going to use some vegan chocolate chips for those. Very grateful that we have them. Also, I am not going to be using the dried blueberries because I have dried cherries from our other recipes that we were working here. I'll go ahead and link the cherry couscous that we use that for, but this way we're just really using what we already have on hand, which I think is so much better for protein bars because it just makes it a lot easier to make and incorporate. So this one does have us working with it overnight, so we're gonna start this, but then our taste test will end up being either later today because it has to refrigerate for I guess chill, not refrigerate, sorry, chill for about 4 hours, or overnight. So we'll maybe do a check-in in 4 hours. We might go ahead and do the whole overnight, depends on where we're at. With that, let's go ahead and get started. Merry meet again. So we're just getting started with the very first step, which is involving our dates and our water and just blending them together. Of course, I never like to blend them on here so that you guys don't have to deal with that sound. So we'll do it off screen. The real reason why I wanted to show you this though, prior to us actually blending, is so it asks for pitted dates. And so you can kind of see I pitted these myself with the dates. These are, oh, I'm going to mispronounce this, the medjool dates. And so they're typically those like bigger ones. These are actually really great treats to like if you ever wanted to like make a little snack for a party favor but you wanted something quick and easy. Maybe we'll do it one day. Is to go ahead, de-pit them, and then where they have this split, you then go ahead, put in like your favorite kind of nut and cover them in powdered sugar. And so you can do less powdered sugar to make it a little bit better because honestly I love fruit so much, and like dried fruit is like straight candy. With that being said, these were a little bit softer, so I was able to pull the dates out myself. If you have dates and you're like, they're very difficult to get these out because you can kind of tell, you're able to just like kind of push, and you're able to push the pressure out of it. That's why it's not so as invasive. If you aren't able to do that, to push down on them, what you want to do is soak them in hot water and then go ahead and pull those out. It doesn't affect anything, and it just helps soften up the dates to their normal place, and you're able to take out those pits so much easier. So I'm gonna go ahead, blend these, and we'll be back. Merry meet again. Now that we have our dates all done, we're gonna go ahead, move on to our next step. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in our dry protein powder here. And so I don't think mine is necessarily pea protein. I'm trying to remember if it is or not. I know it's still vegan protein powder, but I'm one of those people who has like those different containers that you label and whatnot. So yeah, I do know it's vanilla, so we got that much, right? And then we have our coconut oil. We're gonna mix that in there. That's gonna help with the dry parts in here. But also, we're going to use this. This is actually just natural peanut butter that I have. I know it calls for almond butter, but you can use any nut butter in my opinion, right? It's just, you're wanting this consistency and you're wanting this taste more so. But this is for your own taste, so you can do whatever you'd like. And then we're just gonna mix this together. I do have a protein powder. Well, I think most protein powders actually tend to be a little bit like, you think that they'll get wet kind of like how flour does, but it doesn't take liquid as well. But since it's like all that for protein, it just does it. So there we go, we have that portion. Now this is pretty much turning into a one bowl mixture, so we're just gonna like add things in at steps to just support this. So I'm gonna try and get off as much of this as possible. It is peanut butter, so and we're just going to continuously still be mixing. So we're going to go ahead, add in our date mixture here. And if you don't have them completely dissolved, I think that's totally fine, because ultimately, like, there are going to be chunks in the form of like the for us, the cherries, but whatever dried fruit you're using, as well as anything else like the chocolate chips, or, you know, you can really get fancy with those. Those are just kind of mix-ins that she suggests. But if you don't have those things, you can mix in the things that you do like. Like, I think another popular staple instead of chocolate chips is going to be those cacao bits. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I do think we have enough sweet things in here that that would do well. So I'm not too afraid of having some date chunks, especially because if you guys have been following for a while, you know that I am someone who is impatient, and I also don't like to cause too much issues for my neighbors. And so even though it's literally like 10 a.m., I'm like, oh no, I'm using the blender for too long. But that's called anxiety. And so how I get through it is by allowing myself to mix these instead. So we have that going for us now. I don't know if it's as runny as maybe she would have wanted it to be, because she says still thick but a bit runny, and it is thick. So we're just gonna keep moving on. I don't think it's that big of a deal for what we're working on, quite honestly. And we're now just gonna go ahead, add in our chocolate chips, cherries, dried cherries. We have our oats, and then we have our cooked quinoa. So this is what I did. I used tricolor quinoa just because I actually mixed this with a harvest pilaf. We'll talk more about it one day. And with this though, I went ahead and cooked. I'm now realizing I didn't measure to make sure this was only a cup. So we're just gonna have fun and throw this whole thing in there, because I did a third of a cup and then 2/3 cup water, and that should have equaled a whole cup. So, and it is comparable to the oats. If I had them side by side, we could have actually seen that, and the oats are about 1.25 cups, so they should be fine. It's my point for saying this. But also you can meal prep quinoa if you are not wanting to take the risk like I am apparently. And we're just gonna mix this together. So, could I have used a bigger bowl? Sure. But sometimes I really like using bowls that are like the perfect size, and I felt like this would be, and look, it kind of is. But this is so packed with protein. I'm so excited. I always, when I first was working on becoming more plant-based, it was so difficult for me to find like versions of protein that weren't expensive, right? Especially in America, we still have like such a big importance on like meat being like the protein and things like that, but there's so many ways, so many vegetables, so many like plant-based ways that we can add protein into our diet. Oats is one of them and quinoa is another. So the fact that we have both of them in here, fantastic. Some of you also might be thinking like the peanut butter or almond butter, whatever butter you're kind of using, but those are actually better to be seen as a fat. Very good to have in the morning, because fat is what's going to help you stay less hungry, more like sustained throughout the day. So like if you find yourself, you're like, oh, I have protein's not my problem, I always have protein, but you find yourself like still getting hungry like before your next meal, you are going to want to introduce maybe a little bit more fat into your mornings. So we have this. We're gonna go ahead, put this into a pan of your choice, and we're going to chill it for 4 hours or overnight, and we'll check in and do a taste test. I'm pretty sure this is gonna taste just like a very delicious oatmeal bar, but we of course want to be authentic, so we'll talk with you real soon. Merry meet again. So it is the next day. This definitely was done within the 4 hours. I just, you know, we were going based off our mood, and it was like, I will do this later. Even more so, as you can see, I haven't cut it yet. Other than what I did try, I will share. So it is, I mean, it was in the freezer, so it's decently frozen, but you are able to use a sharp knife. But I tried with a butter knife first, no go. Because sometimes with oats, you know, it's like that kind of soft, chewy texture, which is funny because upon eating it, delicious. Does it remind me of those chewy bars, but healthier? Yes. And like, you really can't taste the quinoa, which is shocking because we put so much into it. It's so good. I definitely recommend this for any time you're making something. Like if you're wanting to go on a hike or you're going on a picnic and you just want something, or even to just have as a snack for yourself instead of buying like Chewy bars. I don't think those are vegan because they have chocolate in them, but that is my point. Like these are just so good. So I definitely recommend this recipe and doing this for yourselves and just having fun with it. With that, I will see you guys another time.